Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today we're continuing your favorite series so far, What's the Funniest Thing the PCs Have Latched Onto? This is part 4, and if you have something you'd like to talk about in the comments below regarding funny things that PCs have latched onto, maybe a concept or a rule or just a other character or something, let us know. Professor Bean. A Professor Orb who only cared about Orcish and Dwarvish language and culture. He came from a bag of magic beans, and if you dare to try to talk to him about anything else, he just ignored you. He claimed to be the world's greatest expert in the subjects he cared about, but when pitted against someone smarter than him, not a hard task, he got super mad. So, in one of the campaigns I'm in, we've been wandering through a monster-infested forest with things like flying sharks and goblins harassing the party. At one point, we encountered a group of exactly 10 cats. The thing is, these are not normal cats. Whenever someone attacks one of them, they fuse together into a tiny kitten with the stats of a Tarrasque, which then eats whoever attacked them. 3 of the 4 players, including my character, immediately tried to adopt the cats, not knowing about the Tarrasque thing. The cats have turned from an interesting encounter to a small army of cats following the party. I'm just waiting for the 4th player, who has a pet mouse and therefore both hates and fears the cats, to try and get rid of them. I'm the player in question, but I latched on to, well, collecting evil artifacts. Our first real boss dropped his corrupted magic staff, is that what they're calling it these days? And I took it with me because I didn't want it corrupting the forest any further. Next, we found some crystals used to summon demons, and I thought I could find a use for them. This went on until I had 11 ultra-rare or higher magic items on my level 11 character, none of which I could use, by the way, and 3 of which were artifacts. I never had any serious plot points about them, I was just carrying them around to keep them out of the wrong hands, and conveniently made myself a walking loot drop for any bandit who wanted to be an evil overlord. But, at the same time, that was pretty noble. The Dwarf Barbarian in my party is named Nugget, and he adopted a baby chicken that he named Nugget. So we have Nugget and Chicken Nugget! But do we have any sweet and sour sauce to dip them in? My Warforged fighter, Clockwork Soul sorcerer, Filigree, has kind of adopted a former bandit. When we were level 4, we ended up raiding a bandit encampment and having a 3v40 fight that we probably should have noped out of, but the DM was rolling terribly and we had an exit strategy. So we pushed our luck until we surprisingly succeeded. Some of the bandits decided to nope out, and we met one such bandit later as a part of a band of thieves. He recognized us immediately and submitted. Being a Clockwork Soul, deriving his power from Mechanus, Filigree said he would spare the bandit if he dedicated his life to restoring the balance of the harm he had done. He traveled with us for a bit, and we got him a job as a town guard. He's informed us that there's corruption within the ranks, and Filigree is determined to help him become the captain of the guard and right the problems in the leadership of the town. The party was playing a Fantasy Flight Star Wars campaign. My character was a doctor constantly tinkering with vaccines for rare diseases. The party saved some NPCs from giant worms that sealed their victims in slime pods, like in Aliens. Doc gave the survivors free physicals to make sure they hadn't contracted anything. The only one with anything odd was a hobo named Glenn, whose readings were, well, odd, but he seemed healthy. A little later, a fight breaks out, and some official is nearly killed. Doc says he can fix the guy, but only if they get him back to the party's ship. Glenn shows up with a rug, rolls the guy into it, and takes it to the Doc's medbay. No muss, no fuss. The official was saved, mostly, but the party had to leave the system. Glenn stowed away on the ship, living in the electrical system, eating the insulation, until they found him while trying to fix the ship, which was malfunctioning. Doc started doing experiments on Glenn, paying him with real food. From then on, anytime something went wrong for the party, and when your healer walks around with a customized vibro axe on his back, you know how things are going to turn out, Glenn would show up with a rug. There was never any explanation for the rug appearing, and it was always a different rug. Glenn was some kind of special on his own, too, because he'd show up anywhere, including once outside of a ship without any suit. He was just walking on the side of the ship with a rug. Too dumb to know he shouldn't be able to do that. The droid was out there without a suit, so Glenn figured it was fine. That was how the party learned Glenn was basically half Mynock. Glenn is the only thing I miss about that campaign, setting, or game system. Glenn is forever. Down in the comments, put Glenn as forever and give him a big old salute. I have an NPC, Sly the Hench Lizard, a ranger rogue lizard folk who was supposed to be a guide in one adventure. The thing about Sly is that he is extremely lucky, especially in important situations. He needs a crit to hit, nat 20. He needs an 18 on a save, 19. Now all dice rolls in my games are open, so there is no BSing them. Sly has now been an NPC in 3 different campaigns. His luck continues to this day. If the party knows an upcoming quest is going to be a real clusterfuck, they go get Sly. I even used this as a plot hook a few times. Sly shows up at the party's home base and says, "We have a problem." I'm currently designing a new campaign for my son and a couple of his friends, where Sly will be my main NPC that the party deals with. In my first ever D&D game, I joined partway into the story as an assassin who had a contract to kill one of their enemies. And after killing the enemy, I joined the group because they were working to save the royal family of the one I was born in. My family, because I was born a noble who ran from my title to save my family since my mentor was killed mysteriously. Doo-doo-doo. In the 3rd session, our alchemist polymorphed a squirrel into a girl so that we could sneak into a sorcerer's lab, and I latched onto it because I was trying to protect it from our swashbuckler, who literally fucked every woman in sight. That is disgusting, and we need to ban that swashbuckler immediately. After the battle, we were in the lab talking for a bit, and I was keeping an eye on the squirrel girl until I looked away for a moment, and she drank a potion. I was concerned for a while because I was afraid it would kill her, but it turned out to be a potion of permanence. So I actually adopted her as my daughter and had the alchemist awaken her. I named her Ralia and taught her to fight with some extra daggers that I had, and told every guard and horny old man we came across that if they laid a finger on her, I would castrate them. Yes! Later on, when we liberated my kingdom, I took the throne and reached out to my now ex-betrothed and told her that I was still alive and would love to see her. She ran away from her wedding to a man she hated to come to the kingdom and slap me and give me a good talking to about what I did. And we got married, and Ralia was our daughter. I loved that squirrel girl. We finished that story a little bit ago, and I'm half tempted to add to that character sheet that I have an anthropomorphic squirrel girl daughter just to keep her around for future sessions. Well, I would, and she sounds like she'd be adorable, so if you got any stories and you're listening in, let us know in the comments below, buddy. One PC awkwardly hugged another PC. DM said, "Roll a hug check, performance check." Nat 1, and a 2 modified to a 1. The whole party felt the awkwardness and looked over to see the worst hug unfold. Later, a couple of other PCs were talking about hugs, and one revealed they had never been hugged. So the other one decided to teach them. Hug check! Nat 1. The party again sensed an awkward hug taking place and saw a failed attempt at teaching a hug. Many conversations were had about hugging and who had hugged the most people in their lives. PCs asked each other what their hug count was. Another time, I was on night watch with an NPC ally. They shared some things about me that were very endearing. So I reached over for a hug. Hug check! Nat 1 for me, Nat 2 for them. The original Nat 1 hugger was on the next watch, and they were awoken for their shift by a nightmare about an awkward hug taking place right then. Hug checks were well and truly a thing in our party now. I'm just going to carry a pocket dice for me now so I can roll to hug from now on. Yeah, it's a great pickup line, I'm sure. Not a DM, but our party became attached to a goblin named Nort. Nort was a random goblin we found in a random encounter as we were traveling to a nearby town. I just like his name. This goblin was literally set on fire when the party found him screaming and running around. We put him out, gave him a potion, and asked what had happened to him. Nort, replying in a nasally voice, told us,
"An ogre was attacking his tribe and setting them on fire just for fun. No!"
Our party collectively decided that, rather than help the goblins being assaulted, we just take Nort with us. Keep in mind, this specific campaign was about a nasty infection that turned beast races feral and mindless, and our whole goal was to help eradicate it. So, yeah, Nort stayed with us the rest of the campaign. Nort had an addiction to water and would drink all of the party's water literally all the time. He also had a tendency to throw rocks at people while yelling, "Dodge!" Probably the most memorable moment with Nort was that when he was promoted to a sidekick for our Eldritch Knight fighter. We had arrived in a town that was overrun with the undead, the previous occupants being charmed into thinking the town was perfectly normal as they were slowly eaten to death. Oh, that sounds terrifying. After our party cleared the hordes and holed up one of the abandoned houses for shelter, the entire earth began to shake, and a massive worm-like creature erupted from the center of the city. Its entire body was made of corpses and rotting flesh, and it was obviously not happy with us. It was a long fight, taking pretty much all of the session to take it down. Who else but Nort is the one to get the final hit on the gigantic monster with a tiny little crossbow bolt from a crossbow that weighed almost as much as he did. Godspeed, little buddy. What happened to Nort? We need to know. Nort, hello, Nort? My favorite experience is just the basic PC takes pointless background filler as being hyper important. Dun dun dun. My most memorable one was with a brand new group. First real gameplay session with 4 to 5 members brand new to D&D, and as the group is out to breakfast, I mentioned the gathering of others in the area happened to include a small group of seeming mercenaries talking to an official-looking man, setting the scene that the city was actively recruiting adventurer types for various things. Well, the PCs decide that this must be the plot hook, so they proceed to usurp the mercs from their contracts, and I quickly try to remember some of the hook ideas that the players might be encountering and give them to this official as jobs, quote-unquote, that were going to these actually non-existent NPCs instead. So yes, even brand new players to D&D will do this. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like to spread the word about our lovely little place here at MrRipper, because we want to introduce all sorts of brand new nerds into the fold as TTRPG players. And of course, if you really want to help us out, subscribing is one of the best things you could do. Ring that bell too, by the way, so you can get notified whenever we post a brand new video. I love you all. Please be safe out there and enjoy the upcoming holiday season. Little by little, we're getting there. See you later. Bye for now.